All right, so ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Forbidden Juice. It's your boy AD.
True Function, back in it again.
What the hell, bro? Yo, it's RJ. What's up?
All right, and this is the Forbidden Juice podcast where we spill the juice on all things forbidden. Do you dare take a sip?
Yes, sir.
All right, so we're just gonna head straight into it. No fresh as Farquhar. I'm low-key kind of tired of finding Farquhars all the damn time. We're just gonna get straight into the topic. So, the topic for today, to give a little bit of a
Before I let you
backstory.
finish, fam.
Wait, all right, cool. Go on.
Hi guys, I'm back again. Looking like Mr. Popo from Dragon Ball Z with a fitted cat. I'm like his younger son. Sorry, the sunlight isn't doing me much favor because it's landing. You know what I'm saying? All right. You want to finish, Adrian?
Yeah. So Mr. Popo is back, and so with Mr. Popo back, we are getting straight into it. Where, this is an incident from a couple years back. Some of you might be aware of it. Most of you probably won't be. But a rapper by the name of PNB Rock, right, was caught messing with a 15-year-old girl. Now, the problem is he met this girl in the club. So it was a 15-year-old girl that managed to sneak her way into the club. And if you take a look at the pictures that she has on her social media, you will see that she is quite grown looking. And as of the time of this recording, she has only just gotten to be the age of 18, going on 19.
Oh, so it was 3 years ago.
Yeah, it was like 2017. So
about a week ago.
Yeah. No. 3 years ago, God damn it. So
Song, bro.
I know you were, but it's the wrong damn song. So about 3 years ago, right? This is when this all went down. Now she's grown, but she wasn't grown at the time, right? And you know, a lot of people are in the comment section going back and forth about who was in the right, who was in the wrong, what should and shouldn't have been done, yada yada yada. Some of the girls are like, "Yo, this girl looks more grown than me, and I'm 28." So
I feel like a lot of the women were like, "You should have known." There was that general consensus. A lot of women were like, "You should have known." I'm like,
I don't know about that. You know what I mean? I don't know about that. And the fact of the matter is as well, she's just one of many, many examples of that as well, because there are definitely other girls that I've seen on social media who fully look grown, or, you know what I mean? They look good. And it's like, but they're 15, they're 16, they're 17. Like, you know what I mean? In that 15, 16-year-old range. So the topic for today is basically who is in the wrong when it comes to these young girls looking grown. Is it the parents' fault for raising them that way? Is it the girls' fault for being out here tricking? Is it the boys' fault for not being able to, like, who is to blame for these young girls out here thirst trapping? I want to put it to the floor to discuss. So me and Tope have already spoke about it, so now I'm going to put Raf in a hot seat because I know he's on his phone like a waste man. So
I'm looking at the comments, you dickhead.
All right, cool. So what's your opinion?
turning tricks. Yeah.
Basically, they're all pedophiles, isn't it, man?
Ross, that's simple for you. They're all pedophiles.
What? So all the man them that got involved in pedophiles.
All the man them, fam.
Wait. So all right, so let's say you go to the club, right? And a girl hollers at you. She's nice looking. So, you know what I mean? You chat a little bit to her, this and that, get a phone number at the end of the night. Then it turns out that you go on her Insta afterwards. And let's say that you kiss her in the club as well. We're going to add extra. So you lips her in the club. You go back home, follow her, you know what I mean? Check out her Insta. It turns out that she's got 16 in the bio of her Insta.
So what happens after that is I don't tell no one, and we just keep
it moving. You ain't going to jail.
I ain't going to jail. Lock me up for Wiki.
I can totally see Raph doing that, because he'll be like, hey guys, I'm checking out this girl, and then we'll ask him a couple of days later, yo, what happened to this girl? Oh yeah, no, I was joking, innit? I was lying.
The leaks. Nah, real man. Like, who can you blame? Can you blame the parents? Like, she should not be in that club. Like, why are people letting these young girls? I'm assuming that because obviously the security guard sees the girl and thinks obviously she's older or come through, she's a hot spice, whatever, and then she just does her thing in it. And then the girl that's getting with the famous person's thinking, yeah, I'm getting pee in it, when she's just underage and shit. So,
do you know what? Right, it's too easy to blame parents, man. it's too easy to blame parents.
Yeah, 100%.
That's like when your child turns into a serial killer. What did the parents do wrong? What did they do? And sometimes the parents are actually quite on top of it. I know some parents that were very strict with their children. For a good example, the typical stereotype of the pastor's daughter. The pastor's daughter, the pastor is supposed to be the man, the role model for the church. He lives right, does everything right. But there's always this stereotype that the pastor's daughter always does the maddest things. Even though some of the pastors are quite strict and are quite like, we read the Bible, we're devout, but there's at some point, how much control do you have over a human being where they're no longer a human being, in it?
They gotta hold some responsibility though.
Nah, because
you can't just say that. Obviously,
parents should.
Obviously, there's many cases where the parents are good, matured, or whatever, doing what but they gotta hold some responsibility.
How? Do you know I say that?
From the ages from 0 to 18.
Wait. Nah, I wouldn't say that much.
Yeah.
But what I would say is, for sure, parents do have at least a little bit of an influence in that. Because, for example,
a little bit. We're talking about from 0, bro.
No, I'm talking because obviously there's not a 0-year-old out here looking grown and sexy, bro. I'm talking about 15, 16, around that sort of age, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that when it comes to things like the clothing, for example, some of these parents are out here actually buying the clothes, or they're giving the money for the clothes without actually like checking, like, wait, you bought that? So some parents do need to exercise a little bit more control on that side of things. But on the other hand, bro, we've all been teenagers. We know how we finesse our parents all the time. So there's only so much that the parents can do, but there is at least a little bit that they can do.
I want to just explore that before we go back to it. What would that be? Because we're saying that, but like, we're going to be parents one day. What would you do? What would you do? Like, there's a point where I feel like I get it, exercise control, but then I've easily seen parents who become too controlling and control every aspect get very rebellious children. So it's like you always have to find the fine line between allowing not just girls, but young boys, young men, young women to express themselves, but also in a way where you can still teach them, like, look, there's a way you conduct yourself. Because like you said, there was a point where I was getting money to buy clothes, and my mom was like, just start learning to groom yourself. You know what I'm saying? You buy what you want, do what you want.
Home.
When you want to say, yeah, bro, shut your stinking beak. But you know what I'm saying? So I totally get, obviously it'd be nice if the parents can check in. And I think part of that is like, I get what you're saying. I think this is less about responsibility and how you build your relationship with your child. If you've been building a very conducive, and not everyone can do it, but like, I'm just saying ideally, very conducive relationship where you can talk to your child about a lot of things and level with them, I reckon you can, again, like there's so many like varieties and combinations in terms of how you raise a kid. There's no perfect way, but I reckon if you're able to communicate on a level with them, like, look, this is the kind of person you end up with. Oh, I had a brilliant idea. All right, so here's what I would do. At the risk of scaring my daughter, I'm saying this because I'm a single child, so not single child. I'm single at the moment. I don't have children. So any women that are watching this, So,
so first off, I'm going to beat my child. Then I'm going to beat them twice. And then I'm going to beat them thrice.
The beating is good, but like we all know that there's some people that receive beating and they still out there tricking and doing all kinds of nonsense. So, you know how they got scared straight programs in America?
What, you do that? Wait, what? What are you gonna do? Like, have her dress skimpy one time and then have someone like pretend to hit on her and then grab her and abduct her? Like, what?
That's too much. That's traumatic.
That's way more traumatic.
That's way more traumatic than I was thinking. What I was thinking, right, is like, okay, babe, hello, daughter, how you doing? Hey, dad, love you. Oh, I hate you, because it's teens in it. I hate you. Where's my jollof rice? Talk to your mom. Anyway,
the fuck? What was that?
Anyway, so here's what's gonna happen. I'm like, hey, apple of my eye, my daughter, I love you. Oh, shut up, dad. All right, cool. Look, I'm gonna go shopping. Yeah. Drive her to the seedy part of the UK or the town, right? And I'm like, look, look at all these hoes. all the prostitutes, yeah. And like, you know what they did? They started sneaking in clubs when they were 14, 15. And now looking at them, they're sucking a dick for £1. Is this what you want to do? Is this who you want to be? And then I'll just drop her off at one of the houses in there. I say, I'll pay them in there slightly. I'll be like, make sure she doesn't get involved in anything sexually, but just let her see your line of work. And then maybe I'll have someone spying on her, another woman I trust in the mix, and just let her see these women living these lives and how they've gone off the rails. And I'm like, this is who you want to be? Get out my house.
What the hell is wrong with this guy? Going back to what you said about responsibility and relationship, I kind of feel like it's obviously we know how some parents are with the old school or way of teaching us and raising us. We know that our generation of parents are different to the generation of the previous or whatever. Yeah. But maybe it's the responsibility to try even make that relationship. So I feel like obviously there's only so much you can do for your child, but I feel like where people rebel is when you hide and make things mysterious, when you don't talk about sex, when you don't explain why you're doing or disciplining someone. Do you know what I mean? Like, why can't I go out late? And then you explain it in full depth. I understand that even explaining it and saying the why might not do it, but I feel like to an extent, like you're trying to be as close with your children as possible so you can help them as much as possible. And they're gonna make mistakes because that let's say that we don't know the parents of this 15-year-old that was at that club or whatever, but let's say that obviously after the parent explains the dangers of this and blah blah blah, and then maybe she learned her lesson after that. We don't know. But I feel that's really, really important. I think there's loads of parents that don't explain why they're too strict. And that's going back to what you said, we'll pass the daughters and stuff like that. Like, I feel like from talking to them and stuff like that, because they're living this such a strict lifestyle, they want to go to their clubs. They want to do all these things that are classed as forbidden in terms of the Bible or whatever. Instead of, and it's not to say that the pastor or the pastor's dad or the mum or whatever should let them do it, but it's like being lenient, and if they do make a mistake, explain to them. There's only so many mistakes that you can do. Do you know what I mean? So it's like if you'd be surprised. There's a lot of like even my mum didn't talk to me about sex education. Now let's say that they didn't make me want to have sex with women. I'm like, oh my days, what is sex? Blah blah blah. In some cases, on some other families, maybe yeah, but it's like. A lot. I know I'm dipping into like another conversation, but like a lot of like parents don't really have that conversation. Like, did you guys have that conversation with your parents?
I'm not gonna lie, my mum hammered that conversation, bro. I had a conversation mad early.
Use a condom.
I definitely didn't have it with my dad, but my mum, yeah, kind of.
I kind of didn't have pops around to talk about that. To be honest, I was seeing it in my life without getting all boo-hooey. What do you call it? Child of Rolling Stone. So dad's busy in it. So in a sense, I already had an inkling what was up because I already had brothers and sisters that went from my mum. So when you're kind of growing up into the atmosphere and there's loads of women going, yeah, your dad has children with other people, you kind of get the idea that there's something else involved in there. And then we had sex education early, actually, when in school, actually. They were teaching us about it in year 6, fam.
Yeah, I had it year 6 as well.
Yeah, that's mad early. Now that I look back at it, I'm like, that's ridiculously early. That's like...
I think so.
Actually, no, it's 11 years old. It's like
I think it's not bad. I think it's not bad to talk about.
But maybe because we've had the experience, it's like, it's not that bad. But really, when I look at children, when I see 11 and 12-year-old, you're a child.
Mm.
That's younger than 15 now. You're a child. When I see them,
what?
Like, blood. And they told her, yeah, look, if you
what?
money.
What? Can you people stop with the nonsense voices for 2 seconds? What? Right? I'm just saying, even though you might think it's too young, you gotta realize that some people some of these kids are losing their virginity at ages like 13, 14, 15. So they kind of sort of need to have that sex education early anyway, because like
then they can have children at that time anyway. So
you know what I mean? Just letting you know, in the WhatsApp group that we have, I've just sent you the Instagram of this girl that we're talking about, right? And what she looks like now. You can see that basically, like, she's been about that for time. You know what I mean? Like the way she conducts herself now, you can tell that that is the path she was heading on in terms of, you know, how she presents herself. Um, but yeah, man, like obviously parents at the end of the day, parents are gonna do what they can do to help out with that. And by the time, you know, these young girls are hitting 18, there's not much you can do. You also got to remember as well that there is a double standard with regards to raising your boys and
Oh,
raising
it is her.
yourselves. So what?
Do you know why? Because when you sent the thingy, I typed in foreign white and I was looking at this person. I was like, this isn't the same person. And I was like, leave it. Because I was like, she got 175K viewers. I was like, nah, this can't be the same person. It is the same person. Because I remember looking at this person and thinking, no, this isn't the same person. This woman looks grown with all that she's wearing. She looks grown. It's her still. You're
Yeah,
right. She's been about that life. That's disgusting.
You're rude, bro. I said disgusting.
That is disgusting because I genuinely, and I understand what Raf says. She's not that nice looking, but we're not here to judge looks because God made everyone beautiful. God made everyone beautiful. It's fine. But anyway, some guys dig that, and also, let's be real. Whether you like her face or not, the sexual allure of what she's wearing and all that stuff, plus the body type, is enough to draw enough guys. Do you know what I'm saying? And then, let's be honest, there's some shallow guys out there who's like, I don't really care what she look like. She just need to look thick. You know what I'm saying? So, asking all them questions. You did asking all the questions. But
Started.
yeah. So mad. That's mad because I tried Instagramming her after you sent the link, and is she white? Because she said foreign white, and I'm really confused.
No, she mixed. She mixed.
All right. Anyway, yeah. But you were saying your point, sorry.
But yeah, man. So parents, there's only so much that we can do at the end of the day, and there is a double standard between the guys and the girls. Like intent, like just naturally, we're gonna be harsher on the girls because there are threats that are associated with the way the girls dress that don't really stretch to the boys, etc., etc., and the way that society perceives women versus men. You know what I mean? All that sort of stuff. Like,
yeah.
you know what I mean? That there's that, right? But then extending beyond that, let's say you are the good parent that educated your daughter very, very well and made them realize, okay, look, there's certain things you can and can't wear. And, you know, you basically just try to police it as best as possible that no one could really fault you for. But they still go out, they still dress like that, still manage to get into the club. Who has to be held accountable for that? Because part of the argument is, as a man, you need to do your checks. Like, you should be able to sniff out a 15-year-old girl from a 25-year-old woman.
I disagree.
So I'm just gonna put it out there, right? So you should be able, as a man, right, to sniff out a 15-year-old girl from a 25-year-old woman. That's you know what I mean. As a man, you should be able to do that. So some people will be like, look, as a guy, you have to make your checks.
So basically, you should be able to smell the 15-year-old, smell her. And
not literal smell, man.
You have not aged enough. What is that? It's too young.
You still smell fresh.
You smell like aged wine. I beg, go back and age some more before we deal with you.
Not literal smell, people.
I know this guy.
At the Forbidden Juice, we do not condone sniffing 15-year-olds. Anyway, so it's that side, right? And then there's the other side who's like, bro,
throw away the key.
But then there's the other side of the argument, which is like, okay, look, the little girl is wrong for sneaking into the club. The bouncers are wrong for letting them into the club. Like, the whole reason they're meant to be on the door is to check the people. And if they're the ones getting tricked, bro, like if you are a guy in the club and there's a woman in the club, you are expecting that person has been checked to get into the club. So you should not even be questioning their age in the first place. You should just be there to have a good time. Simple as that, right? So it's not your fault then that you're messing with a teenager because they were checked. How were you meant to know that they were less than 15 when this is an 18 plus event and we have security on the door?
Let me say something. Yeah.
What is the, you know?
Let me say something real quick. Yeah. I think in America, clubs are 21, innit? First of all, 18 is here.
Even worse then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And second of all, I learned this the other day. You guys are gonna think I'm dumb, but I don't care. No, as you go older, you learn stuff. And you actually told me this, Adrian. So I remember one time I was complaining that like I was trying to get into this like little underground little bashment club back in my end, and like they were so adamant of like asking everybody for ID. I don't know if you remember this. And I was like,
Probably.
it got to a point where like there was like I'm not trying to take the piss in it, but you can tell this woman was old, isn't it? She looked late 40s at least, yeah. And she was trying to get into the club, and they were like, no ID, no entry. And I was complaining to you about this. I don't think you remember. And I was saying that like these people are ridiculous. Like, why are you not? You can blatantly tell that like, you know, they're of age. Like, let them in. And then you told me this, and you was like, well, basically, they have to do it because the ID lets you know who they are. So it's like it proves that that they're human or whatever. So I never really thought of it like that. And so I don't know how it's like in America. Obviously, PE money, whatever. But that should also be I'm sure that's a basic security thing to do. So like, you know, at least if there's anybody dies or any accidents, you know who that person is registered in the club or whatever, isn't it? So
that might be a part of it. I can't attest to it. But what I can tell you from my own experiences, I was studying a course when I graduated uni and I didn't get a job quick enough. I was studying a course for door supervision. So basically all the guys who check your ID, right? Now, as I can agree with you, yes, there's some people clearly look their age. But the matter of fact is the law requires any venue, and this is the law. So all of this stuff that we're talking about and complaining, even people complaining, really, if you think about it, we shouldn't complain because the law is stating for an establishment to house any place where you have alcohol or certain people of certain age, if you're doing this event, these people must be 18, 21, whatever, blah, blah, blah. When I was doing the SIA course, they showed us pictures of various people, right? And it was like a trick question. It was like, how old do you think this person is? They were showing us different people, all races and stuff. Everyone made their guesses. And the truth is, they were like, we don't know. We don't know. We couldn't tell you. Because the truth is, there's some people that look way older than they are. This is true as well, regardless of the way you dress. There's, without getting into it too much here, when us, Raf, Adrian, and I was using Bumble, we saw some girls that were like way younger than us. And they looked like they had a mortgage.
Like they had aged.
And they looked like they
looked like they were stressed in life. Oh,
they
gosh.
Look like they've been working a 9 to 5 for 30 years and we ain't even 30 yet. So I was like, what?
Bad.
So that's another thing. Some people look older and some people look younger. And how do you differentiate from that? Do you see what I'm saying? So all this argument that you should know, they say women know. Women, I think, are able to suss out because of the actions of a man and how he holds himself. Even if you're a mature guy, if you dress like I guess what a woman would consider to be immature, she will gauge off from some of those things how you talk and go, okay, maybe he's of age or maybe he isn't. Guys, it's different. They say on an evolutionary tip, for those who are into evolution, that even on a societal basis, it's always been accepted that younger women have been with older guys, and it wasn't too long ago. We're talking maybe 100 or so years. That's long, but still, like a century or so. 14-year-olds was free game, which is disgusting. But that was the thing. You could marry as young as 14 to someone who was old as 21, like over 18.
Still happening in the world.
Yeah, and it's in some places it still happens, and even younger, which is disgusting because they're children to me. So that's what I'm saying. And also, they were talking about the evolutionary fact that because now, like, we're seeing young girls develop so quickly, it could be a sign for blah, blah, blah about the need to be fertile. And guys see that, you know what I'm saying? We see that. That's the truth. And I get it. Yes, we can be more intellectual because we're not animals, but still, those are the kind of things that separates you from looking at a 7-year-old and knowing that's blatantly a 7-year-old, and then seeing someone who's developed bum and breast and going, okay, I don't know what I'm dealing with here. So the age thing is, but going back to what Adrian said, I totally agree. The society is evolving and people are evolving in a different rate. We're getting all kinds of things coming up. So if you know something's changing, don't wait for it to be dealt with. You change so you can protect yourself. So as guys, it's time to kind of go out with the old style of picking up strangers, bruv. You need to get dental records, BMI, certificates,
rude,
degrees,
passport,
car leases.
Are you English? Are you from the United Kingdom?
Do you drive?
These fake IDs, man. They don't
Where are
count
you
no
for?
more, man. Can't use these fake IDs,
Yeah,
man. These
man.
fake
Where did you study and what did you major in? Oh yeah, word. You majored in psychology. So did I. So do you know about the company?
Professor, you know what I mean? Professor Leavesden, you know what I
They
mean?
call me they call me Professor. Smell your bullshit. Get out. I can I can see you. You're mentally unwell, young woman.
but see, all that you've done though, right, is you have done, which is what is gonna bring me to my point now. You've done your checks, right? Which is going beyond just looking at them and determining what their age is. You're now engaging in conversation with them to then find out where they're at. Because I feel that when you start talking to these young girls, their immaturity shines through. And as a grown man, you should be able to determine from talking to someone for a couple of minutes, like whereabouts they are. Not
But
totally, but you should have a better idea than just looking at them.
do you know what I was gonna say? It depends. Do you know why? Because what happens is in the club scenario, especially like from what I've seen from America and what they say the typical male does, the conversation with any woman, age or not, is hey, how you doing? Sex talk, basically, flirting.
Mhm.
Flirting, actually, you develop those skills quite early if you've been around, you know what I'm saying? So actually, the topic should be, which won't work for everyone because some people just want a one night stand. So you may lose the potential, like you said, to meet a real woman, like a of age woman, but she's just down to just talk and have sex in it. So instead of you trying to find out, like, oh, so what did you do? Blah blah blah. Like that sounds like more like of a date talk. You know what I'm saying? But you
Right,
kind
yeah,
of have to
yeah.
do it. So you kind of, if you want to protect yourself, and this seems more like for America than over here, I think, but it
Mm.
still happens. You kind of have to have those kind of talks and be like, look, what are you into? Do you know who D'Angelo is? And if she goes, D'Angelo who? Then you're like, yep, you underage. You don't know about him. Music Soul Child? Music who? Nah, you don't know.
What
Michael
color is the
Jackson?
Rugrats movie VHS?
Yeah, man. Do you know who Tommy is from the Rugrats? Tommy, what? Is that a new group?
What's
Is
a
that on that?
Rugrat? Is it a type of pet? What?
Elbow. Anyway, yeah,
Muay Thai kick to the
violence,
face.
no violence. But yeah, bro. So I mean, that's what I'm saying. That you may lose some girls, like some freaky older women who's like, look, I don't really care about all these questions you're asking. But in the sense of protecting yourself, it's just the way because I know America's really hard on. I'm not saying they aren't here, but like the way it's sensationalized in America, they are really hard on anyone that messes with minors. Like it's not even a joke. Even women that mess with young men, you know, there's school teachers that all the men, all the guys are like, lucky guy, he got that word. But even the women, when they find out they've been messing with minors, America goes ham. I'm not saying we don't over here as well, but the way they sensationalize and the way they blast, that person is done. If you haven't registered as a sex offender, everyone knows you are by the time it hits the news outlets. You're done. You're dusted. So, bro.
So, but then going back to the club scenario, right? Don't you think then that the security deserves to get, you know what I mean, slaughtered for letting some of these girls in? Because, I mean, it's your job to make sure that the right people are in and the wrong people are out. And you should be able to tell what a fake ID is. You should be able to look at their face, look at the ID, and be like, "This is not the same person." Because it'll be things like, for example, right, like older sisters will lend younger sisters their ID, and you should be able to look at this ID and see, hold on a second, you look the same, but you're not quite the same, sort of thing. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
that's the
but
whole reason you're here.
that's difficult because then it then goes to the thing of if you for like let's just say for example there's a photo of you looking mad mager and just super skinny, and then you put on a bit of weight. You're saying because you don't look exactly like your photo, you can't go in. This is where I think the UK shines out. When they would do, I remember when I was going to the club, like even in like college, this was like 2008. A lot of the places we went in Central, they had machines that scanned the ID
Yeah.
itself. So if it was fake, you weren't getting in because they make these things a certain way. Now in America, I don't think all the clubs have that, and depending on what kind of club she goes to and what area, you're gonna find they're not gonna have the technology that's going to help back them with their eyesight. There's only so much. I mean, you've had it before. When you get your ID and you go to a club where they don't have these machines, when they proper scrutinize your thing, they're taking long to look at you and it long before they go, all right, I'll let you pass. Or, I'm not going to let you go. Do you know what I'm saying? It's a really difficult decision to make after gleaning. You can glean over, and you're like, I don't know. And at that point, it's like you have a 50% chance of getting it wrong and right. And that's like, the percentage is like, it could go either way. If you have the technology to back you, and that's maybe something the government could invest in, then. If it's something that to help the club owners and help people not get in trouble, invest in the technology for clubs. But that's America. I don't know if they'll do that. But I know a lot of big clubs over here, they do that.
I just want to say something. I think like America is really money driven, and I feel like if you're VIP, you're gonna get in the club without no ID regardless. So she can come with friends. She can come with anybody that's if they know personally the club owner or anything like that. Like, let me tell you a clear example. I went to my first 18 plus club when I was 17 years old.
You're one of them.
We knew my friend's cousin worked at the place, and all I did was flash my provisional, and then we got in. Like, and when I got into that class, I saw there was actually a lot of you can blatantly tell there was a lot of couple of young people that got in there. I was thinking, how did you get in there? Like, you look young as fuck, and there was some olders and shit. So obviously, my point is people are gonna be able to get into a club regardless because of status, because of who they are, whatever, man. Like, there's loopholes, man. Loopholes everywhere, man.
Do you know what it is? I just miss the innocence of my days. Me and Raf used to go Richmond upon Thames College, right? And I knew a lot of people that were sneaking into clubs then. But I did the next best thing, which probably horrifies some parents. We just bought drinks and went to someone else's house, innit? That's it, bro. All of us, but we're all young together, innit? We got drunk, and if anything happens, we're all of age, innit? We're all of the same age. So we were drinking, living life, like, woo! Hey, no, JK. But, yeah, man. And we didn't feel the need to go to the club because we would be drinking in the park, man. We were like, you know what, yeah? If anyone is watching this and you're not from the UK, drinking culture in the UK is something.
It's so messed up, man. Like, it's even worse up in Hemel, bro. It's worse up in Hemel because it's not just drinking, yeah. It's also drugs as well. So the drinking and the drugs, like, I knew meth heads when I was 16 who were 16. Yeah, man. They were doing crystal meth at the age of 16.
What?
Like, brother.
I've never seen anyone who's done crystal meth.
Well, bruv, it come Hemel, fam. We got them over here. You know what I mean? Like,
outside London, fam. Bedfordshire, go to Luton. I don't know.
Bruv. So there was that. But then I think another thing as well, just to go back to the security guard thing, there's also it applies more so to the UK than America, because like you said, in America, the club, you gotta be like 21 to get into the club or whatever. According to what you say. But whereas over here, the age is 18. Now, to differentiate, especially now more than ever before, to differentiate between an 18-year-old and a 17-year-old, or an 18-year-old and a 16-year-old, is a whole lot harder. So, barring the fake ID side of things, to do just the visual check and just be like, that's that. And then another thing I'm sure you guys will attest to as well is, like, when you're our age, right, like 27, 28, 29, every 18-year-old looks like a child to you as far as you're concerned, right? Yeah. So then when you're on the door, check out, and you know what I mean? You'll be in the club seeing some baby-ass faces and be like, fam, how old are you? But they're fully like 18, maybe even 19, some even 20. But they look like babies, you know what I mean? Just because you are older, you're in that upper echelon of age versus them. So then when it's your job to do this, and let's say you are a bouncer on the door and you've been checking a million different IDs tonight, you know what I mean? And all these young faces start blending in together and this and that. I can understand then why the occasional 17 or 16-year-old or maybe even 15-year-old will slip through the cracks. But like Tope was saying earlier, or True Function rather, it's a case of investing in that technology to get the fake IDs out of the way. And then, but then this is again the thing, like, even if it's a real ID, you still got to be able to do the check of looking at these IDs and telling, for example, like, I'm not going to bait them out, but I know of someone who lends their ID to their little sister so their little sister can get into clubs. And their little sister is on the verge of turning 18 now, but still hasn't made it yet. So she's using the ID to just pass off as like a few, you know what I mean? Like a car, like literally what, 2-3 years older or something. But like, she's almost there herself anyway, sort of thing. You feel me? But she's using the fake ID. And it's like, but it's like when you look at them, you can tell they're related, but they don't look exactly the same. But then this is the other side of it, right? Which I've just realized complicates matters as well. The picture that this older sister has on her ID was from when she was doing driving lessons back when she was 17, 18,
Exactly.
professional.
This is what I was gonna
So
say.
then you see the picture of older sister at 17, and then you have the younger sister who's currently 17, and it's a case of looking at those two pictures and then looking at the looking at the picture and looking at the face, and just like, it's complicated, but at the same time, like, look, it's not hard, man. It's not. It's not easy for a bouncer.
You know what it is, yeah? You know what it is? It may sound proper. I don't know if it's conservative, but it may sound raw. I couldn't give two monkeys. I really couldn't give two monkeys. We're expecting establishments to, yes, they're meant to do their job as part of the law, but really, if you want to protect yourself as a guy, do your part. That's it. That's it. Because the truth is, there's always going to be people who fall through the cracks in any situation in life. If it's not clubbing, it could be something to do with how you manage your wealth. Like, some people are able to get benefits like of a certain amount. I don't know, whatever it could be. You know what I'm saying? That's got to do with limit. Like, some guys can find themselves in an all-girl scenario of like being in an all-girl establishment, whereas many others can't. You always find someone who falls through the cracks of something in some aspect of life. When that happens, what is your next line of safety, like your next line of defense? Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But if the club can't keep them out, and if the parents haven't taught them well, or the children aren't listening, that's the second line. Then the club can't get them out the third line. What's the fourth line? The fourth line that ultimately protects you as an individual. Because honestly, if we weren't talking about this as individuals, if it happens to another guy, it's going to be like, oh, that's sad, but it's not you. Really, it's not you. Because we know when we go out, we already have this mind about us, about how we're dealing with people. Like, we were on the dating apps, I was like 18, even under 23 was disgusting to me. If I'm honest with you, I was like, nah, it seems a bit too much.
Any people watching the podcast who's 22, sorry, you can't get him. Sorry.
What's wrong with y'all?
They'll be looking.
What's wrong with y'all?
They'll be like, nah, he's old. We don't want him. Go back to 1952. But you see what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, as an individual, if you know, like, actually, I'll give a good example of it, because I was rambling earlier about like falling through the cracks, but just about how society can be and how you have to protect yourself. For a good example, because of all the gun crime that's happening in America, and maybe even to a part in the UK with the stabbings and stuff, right? Or the police profiling, right? It then became an evolutionary tact where women were telling their young boys, don't be out, don't be in gangs. It is not a problem per se for maybe a young white boy or young Asian boy, you know what I'm saying, to be out in the streets rolling around with a group of guys. But it's significantly a problem in Western sectors, you know what I'm saying? So because that's the problem, you can't say, well, the police needs to do this or young black boys need to do this. If you know that this is going to be the consistent action, or this is what's going to happen to your child as an individual, as a black mom or as a black father, you're going to be like, look, make sure you're not out late. Make sure you're not out in groups of, or hanging around with groups of guys that will get you profiled. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's neither here or there about the arguments of whether the police should be good or not. You adapt to what is good now, and then whilst you're adapting, then you lobby for change. But you can't be like, well, the club needs to do this and young girls need to do this. Truth is, young people don't need to do anything. We're meant to protect them. If you look at it technically from the eyes of the law of the land, yes, we can talk about the morals, about how people raise their kids and stuff. Great, fine enough. That's a societal thing. But technically, in terms of laws, they are minors. and a minor can juke someone and not serve life because they're minors. Do you see what I'm saying? Some minors have done some horrific thing, but because they're minors, they're technically underage. They cannot be persecuted to the full length of the law. Same applies over here as it does in America. So therefore, yes, it's like having rats in your house. No disrespect. You do what you can to make sure those rats don't run free. And I'm sorry to use that as an analogy because young people ain't rats. But you get what I'm saying? It's about what's your defense when the main system doesn't work for you? Do you see what I'm saying? When the safety net doesn't catch all those people, what do you do as an individual to protect yourself? Because God forbid if we hear Adrian was like, oh yeah, man, guys, looks like I'm going to
jail.
Because
why must we use my name, fam?
Because you're the sweets, boy. The boy is eating Japanese sweets. You are the sweets, boy.
What does me eating Japanese sweets has to do with what relation to hooking up with 15-year-olds? What's that? Putting such madness on my name.
I'm good. I'm joking.
No. No. Well, all right. So you're saying do checks. All right. So the next question is, what checks do you do? Because, for example, I saw in not only comments but also in discussions that I've had with my own friends and stuff as well, right? And my friends, because it was comments online. But for example, one guy's like, bro, I check IDs. Like in the club, I check IDs, as in, hey, babe, show me your ID. So, because I would not check IDs. That's just so no.
First and foremost,
are you the police?
No. First and foremost, even if she's a legit woman, that's just bearing insult. Do you know what I'm saying? Also, even if she's not a legit woman, if she could pass the security and they're trained to do their job,
less you, bruv. You know what I mean?
You know what I'm saying? Actually, I had a quick question, and we'll go back to you. Do you reckon we should raise the age limit to 21?
What, to go clubbing?
UK. Because you know why I say that? Think about it. I don't know why they've done it that way, but if you go to Sainsbury's or
the challenge thing, right?
Challenge 21.
It's not even challenge 21, bro. It's challenge 25.
25, yeah. So that's weird. So I'm like, so I can go. I think there's more dangers in the club. Well, actually, let me not say that. That's either or. That's more about responsible drinking. But you can get your hands. It's harder for you to get alcohol off of the shelf, but at the same time, you can sneak into the club as an 18-year-old, under 18-year-old, where they do sell alcohol on the premises. So that's beyond me. Do you know what I'm saying? That's a bit like, what? Whereas America, they've got it clean. 21, you drink. 21, you club. They got it clean across the border. Challenge 25 just sounds a bit mad. You know what I'm saying? It's like...
Okay, let me explain briefly about Challenge 25 because I did used to work as a bartender before. Challenge 25 is more so for, like, because we all know that the drinking age is 18, but unless they look clearly over 25, you want to challenge everything, right? So if someone walks in and they are 60 and they look 60, it's like, all right, cool. I don't need to check this person for ID. If they come in looking 30, right, it's like, okay, I don't need to worry. Because the thing is, there's, God forbid anyway, but there's no 18-year-old or 17-year-old who looks 27. You know what I mean? So, and if you do, then fix that. You know what I mean? So that's the reason why it's challenge 25, because it's like, okay, physically, an underage person is just not going to look that old. But if anybody looks younger than that, challenge it. Just to be on the safe side. It's one of them ones right there. Right? So that's why it's challenge 25.
Okay, thank you for letting us know. Bartender Adrian living his previous life. But yeah, all right, cool. Back to what you were saying about the checks. What do you do?
Bruv. For me, it only works for me because of the kind of guy I am. I don't go to clubs looking to hook up with anybody or get nice or anything like that. So for me, it legitimately.
That's like you the clubs and the white girls be whining on him, bro.
Me, fam.
Hold on, dancing like Michael Jackson and shit. Yeah, man.
Wait, hold on.
I'm here, Hempstead girls.
Hold on.
You mean looking at Hempstead girls from back to front, fam?
Hold on a second. Right now, first of all, I'm not going to deny that I have whined on white girls before, because which one of us in here has not?
All the black women.
So that's one. Two. My preference is for black women. So get it out of your system. 3, even
Racist.
wine is very, very different to flirting. You know what I mean? And it's very, very different to think. Plus, again, because of the kind of way I am, I'm not the one that is going to these girls whining on them. If anything, it's kind of like a message is put out to me and I respond to the message. But if the message has never been put to me, I don't even attempt sort of thing.
What happened when we went to that club in London, B?
Which one?
Do you remember when Nathan was there? When who else was there? Corey was there. I think Sheila was there. Francis was there. You don't remember?
I'm lost, bro. I don't know what you're talking about.
It was in London Bridge, maybe.
What happened?
Remember when the girl tapped my shoulder? Oh, your friend looks nice. Can I?
Oh, that nonsense! What looking white witch, fam? Nah, bro.
Rude, bro. What the hell?
Fam, nah, bro. I was clearly not interested, bro. You know what I mean? But fam, that just goes to show, like, just because a message is delivered does not mean that
it's received.
It lands, bro. You know what I mean? Like, yo, return to sender. There's no one home to receive your message. Go, get out of here. You know what I mean? Like, some man then would have been like, oh yeah, someone wants to dance with me. Yeah. Not me, fam. No. I was not on. I have my standards, I have my morals, and you were falling short of both. So get out of here.
That's what I'm saying, bro. It's block, counter.
Now you got her by dancing, fam.
But yeah, all I was doing, that's the thing. All I was doing was dancing, innit? All I was doing was dancing. And it wasn't even like crazy, like, oh yeah, super sensual, right? Nah, bro. It was like I'm locking and popping and doing all my nonsense, bro. And then like I'm at the bar with Raf. Then these 2 white women come over, both of which look at least 30 something, if not 40 something, 50 something. You know what I mean? They were not young girls at the slightest, right? So just to reel this back into our topic. But they weren't young girls at all. But then they've come over to the Raf and like, oh, your friend, my friend wants to dance with them. Or give number or something like that, brother. And I just told Raf, tell him no. You know what I mean? Tell him no. I'm not involved. So anyway, back to the topic because we're getting off topic for a sec. But yeah, man, like because of the way I am, I don't go out to clubs to like hook up with people. I don't go out to clubs to that's not me. I go out to the club to have a good time. It's that simple. If I catch wine, I catch wine. If I don't catch wine, I don't catch wine, and I'm good. I'm genuinely good either ways. But one thing I'm not going to do is go out to the club to hook up with someone. I'm not going out there to flirt or anything like that. So if I am you know what I mean, engaging with a woman, it's more than just a hey baby, how you doing? It is like genuine conversation. It's like, yo, why are you out tonight? You with your friends, you having a good time, yada yada. What else do you do? Blah blah blah. Like I have legitimate conversations with people in the club. Like it's loud as hell and all that sort of stuff. But like I banter with people in the club, you know what I mean? I'm there busting jokes and all sorts of things, rare, this and that. So because that is the way I operate, and I genuinely take more than just 30 seconds to actually like engage with a female, like vocally, I can then gauge what sort of age I'm talking to. And sometimes, yeah, you know what I mean? Obviously, girls can lie about this, but I will, at some point in the conversation, mention the age. You know what I mean? I'll be like, look, so wait, how old are you and are you? Boom, they might say 19, 20 something, whatever this and that. I'll be like, look, I'm 27. Like, let them know, look, I'm 27. So there's no misunderstanding of who I am, where I'm at.
I am your father.
But even then, whatever age they are, in the back of my head, I guess I could say, I don't know, I don't know, if they lie about their age, fine, they lie about their age. I'm not gonna say that I'm out here like not trusting all the women in here, but like, yeah, I mean, I've yet to meet someone who has told me their age, and then like, I've genuinely not believed it. Or like, if anything, if I've seen someone who looks younger than they actually are, you know what I mean? Like they look 19, but they tell me, or they look 17 and they tell me like they're 23. I'll be like, you're lying. What do you mean? You're lying. But then, even then, it'll be like, I guess it's because I'm not that kind of guy. I don't pursue nothing. But even if I was the kind of guy, I would just be like, red flag. You know what I mean? It'll be like, you're telling me you're whole 23, but you look like that. Get out.
I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I agree with you, bro. I wasn't raised that way. Look, the worst. I was thinking about man. I was wondering whether I should even say this, but I was like you, bro. If I go to, I don't even club like that anymore. I go out with dancers because the problem is, like you, I'd be popping and locking, but as you guys know, I've now reached a level of it where if I do it, it actually intimidates the dance floor. So
Yep.
I stopped doing it.
Yep.
So
Same here, bro.
it used to be like you. I'd be like, all right, cool, I'll do it, and girls are like, oh, he can move, especially the white girl. The black guy can dance. It's great. But now, to the level of which I do it, it not only intimidates the women because they don't all dance like that, but it also brings a load of white dudes who want to dance with
Who
me.
want to dance with
Oi,
you, bro?
oi,
It's
oi,
so
oi,
annoying, man. Yeah, bro. They're
I'm like,
so
bro,
annoying.
I'm not interested in you, bro.
Bro,
I'm not
head up.
interested in
Taking
you.
the hat. Start taking the hat.
Yeah, so I
You
stopped
remember
doing
when
that.
some of
If
the
I
guys
go
took
in,
the hat? His mother's marking.
oh yeah.
Don't take my hat, blood. What are you doing?
I didn't even. Anyway, I'll tell that story
Another day,
That-
man. Another day.
Yeah, but yeah, man. Like the worst I could think of is even if I was like you, or winding and say, even if it was an underage girl, I'd be disgusted if I found out, but at least it didn't progress into sex. That's what I'm saying. It going to that next level because do you know why? I was thinking about this the other day and it just made me realize, oh, I went to carnival and I'm not gonna say why. Anyway, I went to carnival, yeah, and I had
he was searching.
I had a great time, like, picked up their wines. It just occurred to me now, it's an open event. How old is everyone? It just occurred to me now. I don't know if I was dancing with someone underage, but this is the thing.
Probably were. She was 16 and thick. 16 and thick. Like milkshake.
999. Hello. I got a person.
That's the face of a predator. Rewind the video and see the face of a predator.
I said hello. Anyway, but yeah, no. So it occurred to me, but like, even if that's the case, most likely because it went to that point. Unless someone went to you and go, bro, that person's 16. If you don't see them again, unless they're one of those, like, if they're a repeat offender and they're going to that club, it's gonna get out that look, that person's underage, stay away. Most times, young people hit a club once, do their thing, and bounce and go somewhere else, or they don't go frequently enough to be like, actually, don't mess with that person, especially if they've slept with someone and they're underage. But if you're dancing with them, even if it gets all touchy feely, and I'm talking about not just older guys to younger girl, even older women to younger guys, because you were approached by 37-year-olds or whatever, blah blah blah, and you're like, I'm not having it. And some older women do it to younger guys because young black guys are tall now, bruv. They're tall. Even them young dudes. We're talking about the girls, but some of the young dudes, man. I'm looking at my cousins, bro. He plays rugby, bruv. The dude is hench. He's hencher than me. He's out here looking like, and his voice is like, when he says hello to me, all I hear is the earth shaking. The hey, top man. And I'm like, bruv, pitch up, bruv. Speak, open your mouth. Because we're all murmuring as well. Yeah. Bruv, but like, you know what I'm saying? So it's interesting.
You're right.
Yeah. You know that, all I hear is top. I'm like, bruv, that just sounds like a bass line to a trap song. What are you saying? But what I'm saying is basically dancing with a younger person, albeit in a sexual manner, is gross. But you do not want it to, I guess, for both parties, both men and women, older men and women, sleeping with someone underage. You can, if you leave it at, look, I came to the club to have fun, it stays there. You know what I'm saying? I don't have sex in the club as well. Don't be fingering or touching, kissing or whatever. Anything beyond. But
can you put that finger down? Disgusting.
Wines and salsa, even salsa. Like, actually, here's no, I'll leave that. But anyway, yeah, do you know what I'm saying? It's when you were looking to go out and get someone and take them home or go to their house and do it that next level. That's when I think you jeopardize yourself. And I don't think it's age a thing. I think it's even the same as like someone who having an STI, because some people be slipping, they be quiet because they're thirsty and they don't mind spreading the love. But if you take time to have questions like, yeah, so what's going on? What's going on? You're like, and they're bare secret, even like, oh, I just want to have fun. Even if they're of age, I just want to have fun. You're like, you want to spread fun to me that I don't want. I don't want your crabs. Return to sender in Jesus' name. be gone. Pats,
So
vamos.
just
yeah.
because the episode is getting to the end, so we just got to get it all wrapped up. But I think, the general, I would say, just as a general rule of thumb, just treat checking people's age like you would check their sexual history. Like that's probably the safest way to keep yourself protected. You know what I mean? 'Cause
some people don't give a damn about people's sexual histories. That's a wrong comparison,
yeah, but then they end up with the problems. You feel me? They end up with the crabs. They end up with the gonorrhea. They end up with the chlamydia. Like, and so in that vein, it's just like look, bruv, just make your damn checks, people. Just as a grown man, just make your damn checks, irrespective of whose fault it is. Yeah, sure, the little girl ended up in the club. Sure, the bouncer let that little girl into the club. Sure, the parents didn't put a leash on their child and keep them at home and make them eat bread and water the whole time. So now they've ended up, growing thick and nonsense like that. But at the end of the day,
that makes sense. Okay, carry on.
That's a solution. Give your daughter nothing but bread and water to eat. She will never be thick.
Bro, don't worry. These girls know how to digivolve. They'll find a way.
They'll pad the bra and pad the nyash and everything, bro.
And then the next level is surgery, man.
Yeah. but she won't get surgery at 16. So you know what? Go ahead later in life. But until you are 18, fam, you are getting bread and water. So
if you got money, fam, yes, possible.
Then there's another thing as well. Don't give him no
money.
No
bread and water.
Yes.
And no TV and no boys.
Yes.
And no cats and no dogs. In fact, I'm removing your oxygen. Be quiet.
Yeah, well, by the time these pastors' daughters are turning 18, and they go wild, okay, at least they're of age when they're going wild. But before then, you're not allowed to go wild. Anyway, that's the end of the Forbidden Juice podcast. Leave your comments below about how you think about this situation. And one thing we didn't touch on is the flip side of this. So young guys and how they need to be approached as well. But that is definitely a conversation that can be had in the comment section. Of course, all three of us will be vocal in that discussion. But please let us know what your thoughts are. All right. Make sure that you guys follow us on our socials as well. So it is Forbidden_Juice on Twitter and at Forbidden Juice Podcast on Instagram. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. Join us next week for our next discussion, which I do not know what that's going to be, but we'll find out. It's your boy AD.
It's your boy RJ.
Peace. True function. Peace, guys.
All right, let's go. We out.